Welcome to Small Biz Life, episode 58. If this, then that. Basics.
Do. Does this sound familiar?
Oh my God, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life.
Hello and welcome to Small Biz Life. We're excited to have you here for another exciting episode. My name's Kristen Ingram.
And boy, is she excited today, folks, here on Channel 32. Bringing your weekly countdown.
Wow, we should record more at night. Wow. So, as I said, welcome to another episode. My name's Kristen Ingram.
And I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And we are husband and wife small business owners who are in a really interesting mood this evening.
Yes, it is the evening. We're getting ready to leave tomorrow, and we're trying to get out an excellent episode. So we don't plan to take it out on you because I think this is a very interesting topic.
Yeah, no, I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. But if you're a returning listener, thank you so much for joining us again. And if this is your first time listening, you picked a great episode.
Yes, because we are high on life tonight.
That's right. Yeah. So as Jeff said, we are getting ready to leave on another trip. Mm-hmm. We got back Saturday evening. Mm-hmm. And we're recording this on Thursday night. We're getting ready to go again. Woo. So this, if you're in the Facebook group, you know that we've been talking a lot about how we're traveling a lot over the next 6 weeks. So,
well, those 6 weeks have started, so we're in the middle of those 6 weeks.
We're only in week 2 of the 6 weeks.
Yes.
So last week we talked about automating your life, mm-hmm. and we mentioned a tool called If This Then That, or
yes.
IFTTT. Mm-hmm. And so this is something that we've been playing around with for the past week. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to talk about it with you because this is one of the most amazing services ever.
And the major thing to keep in mind when you're dealing with If This Then That, and there's another version that will have slightly different services it will connect to, is Zapier, which is another excellent app. They're both excellent. Zapier actually probably has more connections than If This Then That, but If This Then That is the budgetary version, and there's a pro version as well that you can pay for. But it's a great place to start. I like it mainly because the way it's written through basic logic. And especially for any old VB programmers out there, if then is a very common thought. And it's the idea that if something happens, if some condition is true, then
do something else. Right. So, I think that when you're looking at this and looking at Zapier, you kind of need to look at what services you're using, mm-hmm. what you need to connect. The one thing I noticed with Zapier that I haven't really been able to do with If This Then That is Zapier has like an API tool, mm-hmm. which allows you to connect things that it doesn't necessarily have connections for already.
Yeah. But it also has some of the same connections that If This Then That does, and they both have some connections that the other one doesn't have. Right.
So like the one thing I noticed is that If This Then That only has connections with MailChimp.
Yes.
And so if you're using Aweber or GetResponse or Infusionsoft or something else.
Yeah, you really have to look at going to
Zapier.
Zapier, thank you.
And I think Zapier's I think it's $20 a month. Mm-hmm. If This Then That is free.
Yeah, but it is as simple as setting this up. And the idea is, let me quickly go into the basics of If This Then That. And Zapier, they call them zaps.
It's the same thing.
But it's the same idea as If This Then That. And the primary thing is, and I said a little bit, was if then. So if a trigger happens, and you can be very creative, and I will tell you some secret hacks to get around things. But if you trigger some event that it recognizes, then there are actions you can perform in many different channels.
So let me give you an example. So one of my frustrations, we use Salesforce at work, and I forget to go into Salesforce, right? Salesforce doesn't email me when I have a new contact. So I set up an IFTTT that when Salesforce creates a new contact for me, I get an email.
Yeah.
So it's something as simple as that, all the way to there's one that if you post a blog post on WordPress, you can set up an IFTTT to share that with Pinterest, to share it on Facebook, to share it on LinkedIn, to share it in a whole bunch of different places.
Yeah.
So it's connecting to services that aren't natively connected.
Yeah. And in addition to the if this then that functionality, there is another functionality that they provide called do. So just do something. And so you say, do something here, and it will do it there. And there are good functionalities for this. Most of the stuff I do is trigger based. But there are sometimes where it's like, I just have one thing over here that needs to happen for me. Do it. But let's talk about a little bit, because the major thing is to really understand the patterns of ways you can do things, because there's so many different forms of social media. There's so many different tools out there. We cannot possibly cover them all. But there are a couple important cheats, and I want to get to those actually just right away, I think.
Okay.
Because this will get people so excited they're going to instantly subscribe if they've not yet subscribed.
I'm so excited. Like, I've been playing with this for the past couple days.
And for those of you who like to do it on smartphones, there is a if this then that app. If you want to do the do functionality, it's a separate application. There's a do application as well.
Right. And the do application is really, I find that a lot of things on there are like smart appliance kind of things, or, smart home, so, hey, turn on the lights.
Oh, I forgot to turn down the temperature. Just do it when I leave.
Right. And that's so cool. I was looking because we have a Nest in our house for, basically it's a smart thermometer or thermostat. It's a smart thermostat.
It always says that I'm sick.
And one thing that it will do is you can actually say, okay, if everyone's left the house, turn down the heat. So it'll say, okay, well, Jeffrey's not in the house. Oh, and then Kristen leaves the house. Okay, we're going to turn down the heat.
Yep. And especially like if, as a small business owner, your schedules can turn hectic a lot. Or if you have kids, your schedules there's a lot of people whose schedules get hectic a lot all the time. And the great thing with something like Nest, it's very easy to set up a very complicated pattern to go off of your normal lifestyle. But when that's interrupted, how often do you remember to turn on the thermostat? It can save you some money, save you some cash, put some cash back in your pocket.
So that you can pay for more services.
But the interesting thing is with the interactions, though, you could do wondrous things. Let's say, you can have, whenever you get a new contact, a new user on your WordPress site, maybe the lamp in your office, your smart lamp, I think Hue is a big one I kept seeing listed in there, can flash at you.
Yeah, and I saw that a lot. Like there were actually some that if I close a case in Salesforce, flash the lights.
Flash the lights. I would say only do that for revenue generating stuff. Don't do that whenever you get a Twitter mention or a Facebook message, because that will distract you. But stuff to cheer about, stuff to give you those little wins to remind you that stuff is going on behind the scenes without you. But I think the primary thing people think about with tools like this are how to make their social media lives easier. And like we said, you should really only be focused on a few social media, at least until you get them down and they become second nature and you've automated out the non-interactive work portion of it. But there's nothing saying you can't use other social media to post stuff. And maybe you do very little interaction in there. Maybe you don't spend much time in there. But, it's like for me, and I probably should use Pinterest more because I do think I have some audience there for this show, definitely. And even for my other show, there's a lot of fantasy geeks who like picture-y stuff. But one of the things I could do is whenever I post something to Facebook, even though I don't have something set up in Edgar to pin it, I could just pin it, or vice versa. And a lot of these things you can use in either direction, not all the time, but usually. Facebook and Twitter probably have the most functionality in if this then that, which is also good to keep in mind because a lot of times you can cause triggers by doing things in those places.
Well, and I think one thing that I found that was pretty neat was that, so one of the things I found that was really neat is if you use Google Calendar, you can actually put social media posts into your calendar and they will post when the time comes.
Yeah. And that's definitely one of the better tools is if you can't afford a software like the pro version of Buffer where you get to put a lot of stuff into social media and have a lot of different places you can put it to, which you need the pro version to do both of those things. Or Edgar, where you have the library of content that just it keeps kind of pushing it out for you all the time. Your calendar plus if this then that becomes your best friend, because not only can you schedule stuff to go out on certain days, but you can even do crazy stuff like I have a directory where my photos for my social media are at, upload my photo into social media for me at this date.
Yeah, no, and
I believe there's a clock app that you can sign up for as well too, and you can even get to date time, which you can use time in your calendar as well. But if you have a timed event, let's say around lunchtime, you send out a social media message to all of your followers and you in a restaurant so that they remember, hey, come in today. This is our special today in the restaurant. And you can set that up ahead of time. And then at noon, you don't have to stop what you're doing to, stop cooking food for people coming in or helping them get to their seats to tweet it out. That can happen automatically if it's daily. There's temperature settings. So if let's say you have a business where you sell hot cocoa, things that people need when it's warm soup, you can have it post out when it gets to a certain temperature. Maybe you're a lounge or you have a business located that sells beach gear and the temperature gets to a certain degree. You can start posting out, hey, come to Hampton Beach. And that happens to be where my shop is. You can do a lot of things inventively by creating these triggers that aren't naturally there. For example, let's say you have a weird business like an accountant or something.
That's not weird. That's not weird.
You can use Google Calendar to schedule your warnings to people about their quarterly updates.
Their quarterly estimates, or you can even
tax deadlines for the different types of businesses you can push out.
Well, and the thing is too, it's you can even say you make an appointment with a client and you want to follow up with them. You can, if they're in your contacts, you can have Google Calendar send a text to them or send an email to them reminding them of the appointment.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many amazing things that you can do with this tool.
I'm going to start converting down towards customer management because this is one of the things where a lot of people are always asking, especially the really small businesses. It's like, we can't afford Salesforce. Well, unless you have a lot of money to really set it up correctly, it's expensive software.
Right.
It's, much more expensive than something like Edgar, which people think are too expensive.
But a lot of people want a CRM.
But they want a CRM, but they can't afford one. So how about this? So you want to have those contact moments with your client. You could have a Google Calendar set up that has all of the important days for your clients. You maybe even use multiple calendars. I mean, that's the nice thing with Gmail. You can set up, as many of the free Gmails, and maybe you only use them for this purpose.
Right.
But you have one calendar set up that has for your clients that they're not your most valuable clients. but you want to be nice, so you know when their birthdays are, when their anniversary is. You can schedule all that out, and it will actually, maybe through social media, go out and wish them a happy birthday from your business, or do a Facebook connection to them if you know their Facebook ID, if you're friends with them.
Yeah, one of the things I saw, one of the pre-written recipes was actually to automatically wish your friends a happy birthday on their birthday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my, like, I'm going to set that one up, because that's that's just awesome.
Yeah. And think about it too, it's like, and the good thing is there is a channel for Facebook, and the channels are what you set up as either a trigger or an event that you want to happen. But there's also for Facebook pages. So you can actually sit there and post thank yous to being your customer on the client on the anniversary when they became your customer. Put it right out there in your Facebook page. Hey, thanks. I started coaching you in 1993. So that's a good way to show that you have customers, and you might want to okay that with them if you're interacting with them in that way. But you need to know your clients anyway. So that's something you work out with them. But let's say you have a VIP. You don't want a cheesy tweet going out to your clients that really help keep you in business, the people who send you new clients, the people who use a lot of your services, and a lot of money exchanges from their hands to yours. But you can notify yourself, hey, this is so-and-so's birthday. Oh, here's the note. He has 2 children. One's name is Samantha. One's name is Tim. This becomes your CRM. It takes some setup. And you probably need to be organized in the fact where if I had those different things, I'd probably have a different calendar for each thing. One for normal clients, one for my VIP clients, one for my, oh my goodness, what's the term I'm looking for? Influencers, the other people in my space who I'm friends with, who I interact with. We help each other to remind me of those different kinds of things. You can set that all up for free. Using if this then that and free Google email accounts.
Yeah. No, now here's the thing. So for me, this seems super overwhelming because I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things I want to do. So, the thing I would start with is okay, go back to what we were talking about last week when we were talking about automation. And say, all right, what things do I wish could automatically happen?
Yeah.
So one of the things that, kind of drives me crazy, I know that when I do the show notes for the show and I hit publish, I know that they'll automatically go out to my email list.
Yep.
I know that they'll get posted the next day on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, but they don't go to Pinterest. And I know that I have a good size following on Pinterest.
Yeah.
And if I remember to pin it manually.
Which is why I'm actually really bad, because I don't have all of my stuff going to Pinterest. Yeah.
But one of the things I can set up is to have WordPress go to Pinterest.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that I can say, okay, I can set that up and then it'll happen. So maybe, your goal is to set up one new automation a week.
Yeah.
And just kind of say, all right, this is one thing that I'm going to set up this week.
It's off my plate.
Yep, exactly. So I wouldn't spend 3 days trying to get everything automated.
And the other thing too is if you have 3,000 customers, unless you have the money to throw out a VA to start putting it into a calendar for you, just take your list, give yourself, 30 minutes a week or however much time that you can put towards it, and just start filling in the calendar. And over time, it fills itself in. And
and the thing I'd be looking for too is I'd be looking to see if there's some way that you could, set up an IFTTT that here's my spreadsheet of birthdays that I exported from somewhere, import them into my Google Calendar.
I'm pretty sure there is one for that.
So see, there you go.
And I'm pretty sure if you, I don't know if it'll work for Facebook taking names out of Facebook, but one of the great things is with Google Sheets, which you would get with any of these accounts that you would set up to do this kind of crazy CRM stuff that I'm talking about, is you can track stuff in Google Sheets very easy. So if you're a Twitter fiend like me, I have a sheet that gets filled out automatically whenever I'm mentioned.
Yeah, I have one of those too.
And so essentially, whenever I get mentioned on Twitter, it'll take who did it and what the message is and throw it into a spreadsheet for me.
And you can do this for tags too. If there are tags that you follow, you can have...
You're way ahead of me now.
I'm sorry. You can do the same thing. You can put it into a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Yeah. And with hashtags, and this is the way you ever wonder why people are like, hey, if you want to get me news, or if you have a news or something for me to know about, just, do hashtag. And a lot of times they don't say tag me.
They say use the hashtag.
This hashtag, special hashtag I've made up. And the great thing is with that is they can use that. They put all the information into a spreadsheet for them, and then they can go through the spreadsheet to determine what they want to use. And then they can go find those tweets to get the pictures, or, I know a lot of the YouTube creators that talk about other YouTube videos, or they talk about news or whatever. Well, they'll take the links from that point, and then they can go back, look up the stuff, and create their videos.
Yeah, and I bet you that there's probably one, and I think this is how I get followers on certain social media channels, that you can... Yeah, you can create Twitter lists around a hashtag. Yep. So it will automatically add people to a list if they use a hashtag.
Oh, my goodness.
Jeffrey's so excited.
I never thought of that one, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, no. So think about it, all those lists you get added.
You can actually, and the great thing is, like, every once in a while, Google something like around what you do, and if this, then that, best recipes. And you will get all of these wonderful ideas. And keep it abstract because maybe it doesn't work there, but it gets you around to a super cheat, which I'm about to tell you. And I keep teasing, but I don't say.
Well, and here's one I think is pretty interesting. I'm actually playing with it while we're recording. If you use a specific hashtag on Instagram, it will add that to a Pinterest board. Mm-hmm. So, Pinterest is very board driven. Mm-hmm. And so if you use a specific hashtag, it will put that on Pinterest into the board that you want it to go into.
Okay.
That's awesome. Because, now you're posting across Instagram and Pinterest, which is pretty sweet.
You can also use hashtags, I believe. You need hashtags. I'm not positive. But one of the tough things people always have is they want to automate stuff to groups, which is pretty difficult unless you spend some money on a social media manager. But with something like if this, then that, you can't directly send stuff to Facebook groups. But what you can do is email them to yourself. And then you can use the email to post them into your Facebook group. I mean, it's brilliant, some of these things that people figure out how to do. And that's really the key, is exploring. If there's more you want to do with Twitter, explore, because really, literally, it's as difficult when you set one of these up as it says if, and you click on something and add it, and then do something else. And if you find the other ones that people have already created, you can just say, add this recipe, and it will just add the recipe, and you have to fill in the details on like your accounts and stuff. But it's a very simple, you're clicking and adding 2 icons, and then you say, do this. And if you find someone else's recipe, which they're all over the place on if this, then that, or if you Google recipes for Twitter or recipes for, and make sure to say if IFTTT recipes, not just recipes, but, best, if this, then that recipes for Tumblr, for Reddit. I mean, a lot of social medias I don't even use.
It amazes me. There's even one in here. I like this. This is kind of cool. Automatically silence my phone during calendar events with the hashtag.
Yep.
And so if you put the hashtag in your calendar events, it will silence your phone.
Yep.
That's brilliant. So like if you put like writing time, it will silence your phone.
Okay, here's secret number 1, folks.
Here comes Jeffrey's secret IFTTT tips.
Now, don't tell anyone I told you this. Now, we all have that. We have the person we go into the meetings with that goes on forever and ever. And usually the meeting lasts for 5 or 10 minutes, and then it goes on for days, sometimes weeks. Maybe it's a client of yours. Maybe it's a business partner of yours. Maybe it's when you go to lunch with your sister.
And I've gotten texts from you before that were like, please call me at a certain time.
Because I didn't know this back then. You can set up an if this, then that. So at a certain time, it will call you.
I love this. I'm so doing this. I'm so going to set this up.
And because you don't want to be rude and say like, listen, this is a great conversation, but I got to go. But now you can pick up the phone and blame your spouse, which is what we have them for.
That's right.
And I don't know about you and your spouse's relationship, but me and Kristen, we are each other's excuses, and we expect to be. And if like I found out she's using another guy's excuses, I'd be very upset. She would never do that to me.
Well, and that's one of those things, like I do that all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, my husband's calling. Okay, yeah.
And now you don't have to lie. And the thing is, if your phone's silenced, you can unsilence it.
Right.
And then...
Because that's the thing. You can set up to say, if this number calls me, let it ring.
Yeah.
You know?
Or you could create a calendar with a hashtag that tells it to unsilence your phone and then call your phone at the end of your meeting time. Mm-hmm. You know, and sometimes they're good, pleasant people, and you don't necessarily always mind doing it. So you can just say, oh, and you could always swipe the call shut. But you can't. It's much harder to lie when there's no actual phone call coming in. And now it would probably be more ethical to sit there and say, listen, it's 7:00. But you know what? Sometimes when I'm in those kind of scenarios, I don't, especially in the summer when it's daylight for a long time, you have no visual clues to realize that you've been in this office for over 97 hours.
Well, and I think that would be really useful too, though. Like if you're doing the time blocking, like we talked about in the webinar, you know, there are certain tasks that I do that like you go down the rabbit hole, right? And you get lost for days.
Yes.
And so those at the end of those time blocks, that might be a really good idea to have your phone ring and go, hey, hi, okay, you're ignoring your email, you're ignoring your text, you're ignoring everything else. We're going to make the phone ring.
That's right.
You know, because maybe you'll look at that. So no, I think that's...
Or we'll make the Facebook notification sound.
But no, I just like, this is such a powerful tool that I don't think a lot of people are using.
And here's another creative area. So far we've talked a bit about using it for social media, and that's the easiest place to get started. I would suggest if there's one area, because the social media manager you have probably doesn't cover everything that you need, and you have a limited budget or no budget. The best place for most people to start is in social media, because those are a lot of the tasks that you waste time with. And like I said, I don't believe in using them to do automatic replies. I don't like
I
automatic
hate
replies.
those. I really do.
So when there's notifications for me, I want to know that because I do want to interact with the people who notify me. And sometimes, especially, I can get really wrapped up in what I'm doing. If I'm at work, I might not sometimes open up my social media all day. Or I never, I guess,
that's
open
right,
my social media when I'm
unless it's like lunchtime.
Except for lunchtime or breaks.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't really get those well because I get caught up in what I'm doing and I'll eat at my desk and I just kind of don't have time. And the great thing that you can do, and a good way to save, it's the nickel and dime times of social media, even when you're using it legitimately or Jimmy, either one.
Is Jimmy using your social media?
Jimmy, he's French.
Okay.
But either one of those circumstances will eat up a lot of your small time business if you use online as outreach, which if you listen to this show, you probably are. And if you're not yet, you should start.
Well, and here's the thing. I know that we've talked about Edgar and what we've done with Edgar as far as recycling our social media content, but that only does 3 channels.
Yes.
We have, it's funny because when you watch the numbers for the podcast, there are certain times that like a certain episode will go out automatically through Edgar. And I'll get notifications, people like this on Twitter, people like this on Facebook. And then I go into the numbers and our downloads are really good that day. And I didn't do anything, except I set up Edgar, and you can do this with, with posting to Instagram and posting to Pinterest, which are more difficult social media channels, to be able to post to. But the more you can get out in front of your audience, right, the more potential customers are paying attention, the more people are following you. And if you can automate all this, that means at
least the busy work part of it.
Right. But that's the thing. I mean, if you can make this happen, I mean, one of the really cool ones that I saw was it will post to your Facebook group from your calendar. And so I can say, okay, I'm going to set up, say you want to do like a 30-day challenge in one of your Facebook groups. You can set that all up in your Google Calendar, and then it will automatically post it every day for you.
You don't have to, worry about it, because you just sit there. You can go verify on your calendar what you're doing that day, and the day before what you're preparing for the next day, unless you're like us and heavily prepared.
Oh, we're always wicked prepared.
Always wicked prepared.
Or at least everybody thinks we are. We do very well with that appearance.
Yeah. So outside of social media, another great thing is recording stuff. So, and if this is some of those emails you don't want to see or you care about, but it's that email that says, hey, your Facebook or your WordPress site is updated. Your video is now live. All of these things that you might need to know and go back and look at some point, but aren't necessarily really important. When the email comes in, just, take a tag from something in the subject line that's unique to it and use that to feed it into a Google Sheet for yourself. And then you can just delete the email.
Right. And here, because I just thought of this when you're talking about video. So sharing from YouTube is a pain because, there's really nothing, there's not really a feed that you can pull in from YouTube. Yet. There will be, but not yet. So if you're a YouTube person, this is a really good way. When you upload a video, you can automatically share it to all your social media channels with this. My friend Ronnie Harden, who runs Coffee Talk with Ronnie, when I was actually searching Periscope earlier, and you can share, when you go live on Periscope, you can share it to any social media channel. If you want to go on LinkedIn, if you want to go on Facebook, if you want to go on your page, you can do it all. And they're all pre-written.
So you just look up Periscope. You say, when I go live on Periscope, share it, if this, then that, recipes, and you will find them, and there will be several, and they'll be all basically the same thing.
And if you're directly in IFTTT, you can use the search function when you're logged in for Periscope, and it'll show you every recipe for Periscope.
And I really think that's a great way to start when you're starting with it. With, I believe they call them channels in there.
Yeah.
But like, say, what can I do with Facebook? Search up, look, because you'll see the big picture icons of all of the different social media. So you know the ones that you use, you know the ones that you don't use, and you're like, why is there a weather thing there? Or why is this there? Or why? And explore a little bit and focus on like that channel and doing what you can do to make your life easier there one at a time. But then we talked a little bit about using this customer relation management software. That's much more advanced. Get used to it first. Take some time and think it out. If you're not a very organized person, find a friend who is. Let them know what you want to do. Get them started and pay them some money. Because if they're organized, they can set that up for you. It's not that difficult.
Or contact Jeffrey.
First hour is 1995. Okay.
Don't say that.
Well, I didn't say a decimal point.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine. No decimal point.
And another thing is, too, one of the big things when you're online and using online for outreach is reputation management. And we talked about one of the ways you can use it to do hashtags, right? Well, what about Google Alerts? You have a Google Alert? I have Google Alerts. I've never gone in there. I guess I set it up, I don't think. I might have Google Alerts. I don't know because I set them up, and it's really a clunky website. Maybe they've updated since I've last been in there, but it's like hard to set up. I've never liked going in there. So I never went back after I set stuff up. And who knows, I could be having horrible things said about me. I would never know. I'd go join in. But you can actually take Google Alerts. So when your brand is mentioned and Google picks it up, Google will tell you. Have Google tell you, but instead of going there and clicking through 1,000 things, have it put in a spreadsheet for you. And then you just open up the spreadsheet and are there any lines? If there are no lines, Google hasn't found a mention. And the same thing like we said with Twitter, you could do that in Twitter directly, but if it's out in the ethereal web, you might never find stuff. This will help you find mentions about you. And sometimes it's maybe positive stuff where someone's like, hey, I found this great Periscope, Rondé Harden, they didn't link to you, or they didn't let you know that they talked about you, or maybe they did, but you didn't see it flash back past you because there were 5,000 tweets the same second they let you know. You can actually, if Google Alerts sees it, why it does all of its web crawling, it will tell you, and you can go check it out and see if it's positive or negative, if you want to respond or not.
No, I like that. That's very good.
So one of the big things here is it's very logically based, and that's the reason why I like if this, then that. You can either do things or you can if, then things. And if you can't find them easily in those, here's the second secret.
Jeffrey's secret tips number
two. Secret number 2 is a lot of pieces of software. There's 2 things most software wants to do that you get annoyed with and you turn off immediately. Email or text notifications.
Oh, goodness, yes. I get lots.
Listen, if you can use an alternate account, do it. Have them all go to an account that you'll never log into again. But what you do is when you get an important notification, it can log this stuff for you. It can let you know from software where there's no API connection to. If the software is willing to email you, say, hey, email me here at this address, JeffAlerts at smallbizlife.com, which there isn't one of those, so don't send emails there. But or call it no reply at smallbizlife.com. But you can have these other pieces of software that can email you or text you. The texting might be a bit more annoying, but if they can do either one to you and you really need to know something from there, if they'll alert you via email, let them. You can ignore the emails and go, oh, it's from them, and swipe it off closed. But you know that something's happened. You know that you've got another sale through your WooCommerce cart. Or any shopping cart, because most of them will let the owner know whenever there's a sale, or flash that light, that hue light in your living room. So your kids know that mommy just made some money. But, a little bit is to have fun with it too. But, don't overwhelm yourself with it. Don't use this to try and do everything all at once. Because the problem is normally the reason we don't get started when we're trying to automate to make our lives easier, or we're trying to organize to make it easier to get things done, is we stand back and we look at the big picture. And the honest to goodness truth is, most of the times you just need to start by putting your hand in. You pick up a few things to put away, and maybe you only have 5 minutes that day. But you know what? Those 2 hands that you put away, those 2 handfuls of paper that you've organized, those tasks on Facebook that you no longer have to worry about doing day in, day out, that's time you've recaptured.
Right.
And time is the most precious thing we have, whether it's family or friends or living life or just working more because you're a workaholic and that's the way you're going to be and that's all you want to do. Make the work you do count.
Well, that's, it's funny because, I was in a meeting today and we were like, wow, that would be awesome if we could just create more time. And so I think a lot of times what happens in business is that we get so pulled down into the minutia crap that we have to get done that we have these really awesome ideas that we can never get to. And so that's why we talk a lot about different tools that can save you time, is because we want you to get out of the weeds, right? Yeah. We talk about that almost every single episode.
Because we hate weeding.
Get out of the weeds so that you can do those amazing things and have big impact for your customers.
I'm going to be honest. You posting your material in social media, even if it helps you grow your business, is not your job.
It's not a good use of your time.
It's a waste of your time. What your job is to do, unless, I'm sorry, I take that back, unless you're like a social media manager, then that's obviously
okay. Then that's totally your job. Yeah.
Or you do that for clients. That's different. But for most of us, we're doing it to try and support our own business. The thing is, the idea is the most important part of automation in business is, and this is any kind of automation, whether it's a software tool or using stuff like if this, then that to help automate the tasks in your life, is you need to focus on your core competency. Mm-hmm. And that's usually the focus of your business. If you're not doing that, you are wasting your time. And you're probably not as happy as you could be, because usually your core competencies you love doing because, one, you feel good at them. It's like, how many times, do you say, I'm going to start Periscope and I'm going to do this big Periscope push, and then you forget about it, and then it's, oh wait, I have that Periscope thing I'm doing today, and I'm going to be there by myself talking to myself in Periscope again.
Not once. Periscope is so on my someday list.
Yes. And so it's on my someday list too. I kind of almost started once, but not really. But the thing is, when you make that push for Periscope and you want stuff going out, set up your calendar. And you know what? You don't need another email address. You don't need another calendar. Just go create a free Google account. Mm-hmm. Use that calendar. Use that account only in reference to this. And I wouldn't even use the email there unless it was to do automations. But have the calendar's purpose be scheduling out your Periscopes. So you should never be posting your Periscope events to your Facebook status, to your Facebook page, to your Twitter. You could have a special image that gets put into Pinterest whenever you go live in Periscope.
Well, and that's the thing I thought was pretty cool, is that you can actually do like a branded image for a lot of these.
You could do memes. So you could actually have a directory of photos that sits out in Dropbox or Google Drive, and it will go and grab, I don't know the order, I've not looked into the details of that, but I don't know if you have to name the specific image or not. I would imagine it would just take maybe from the oldest to newest or something like that. But you could have a series of images that sort of change around, because on Pinterest, if it was the same image, it would stick out in a bad way. But, you can pull all that stuff in, and just, and then you spend time creating a cool looking image to throw up there, because that's a little cooler than going, okay, I'm going to copy and paste this text here. I'm going to insert this image here, add this hashtag there. Don't do that to yourself.
Well, and
you should love yourself too much to do that.
Right. One of the ones that I saw for Periscope was, if you put it in your Google Calendar, it will tweet out 15 minutes before your Periscope starts that you're going to go live. And so that lets people know ahead of time that you're going to go. And you can do the same thing. You can put it on your Facebook page before you go live. So I know a lot of people on Periscope right now, not only are they doing their show, but they're doing promo for 15 minutes beforehand. Now imagine if that can be done for you automatically and you don't have to worry about it.
You just have to know that maybe you have it alert you, maybe send you a text to say, hey, your show's starting in 15 minutes.
Have it call you.
Your show's starting you in 5 minutes. But you can have it keep texting you or call you, whichever you need. Send notifications to your phone. Blink your light 7,000 times. And for those few lights, I think they're LEDs, so you can do color patterns to make it really obnoxious. You have 30 seconds until your Periscope starts.
No, and it's funny because they actually, like, the hue lights are multicolor. And so a lot of the IFTTTs are, when this happens, the light goes blue. When this happens, the light goes purple.
And you can do it for other crazy stuff around your life. If you're like one of those investing people, I'm not a day trader kind of person. But, let's say you have some money that you day trade with, and you're picking like those goals. Like, this is my goal for this. This is my goal for that. If there's a connection to it, or you can have something email you, or text you to let you know, you can have your light start blinking crazy yay colors because your Facebook stock hit $300 or whatever price it's at.
Not today. Definitely not today. So, I really want I want to reiterate, do not spend the next 4 days playing with this tool.
Yes.
Okay. I want you to do like one a week. Just find one thing that you want to automate, and that's it. Once a week. And this might be like a really cool thing to do like on Monday morning. Mm-hmm. It's Monday morning. I'm going to automate one thing. And then you're like, yes.
I would actually suggest do this at those times when your mind is semi-frayed. Because when you're semi-frayed mind, not completely frayed, not gone, not like Kristen and my mind is right now where we can talk because we love doing that. But anything beyond that, we're drooling. Really, we're drooling right now. So the thing is, it's in those moments before you're drooling because you're completely incompetent, but you're going downhill. Do it then because you're more creative. And you might see weird possibilities and think, oh, that's stupid. But then you Google it or you go into if this, then that and find it because your mind will be more outside of the box in those moments. Use those other moments where you're at your peak to do your real important work that really gives you the money.
Right.
And that might be money for you. I don't know what time that is. That could be any time of the day.
Now probably might be a good time for you to add another IFTTT.
No, I'm on audience high right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll see. But no, please do not spend the next 4 days doing this.
Do not spend the next 4 days brainstorming everything that you need to automate out.
Right.
The thing is, we talk about those someday tasks. When you think of that thing, I should do something with what's this new social media? I never heard of this before, but is there if this, then that? Let me throw that into my someday. And maybe you'll do nothing more than create an account and have it automatically put stuff in there for you. And that's all it is for now. And maybe someday you go in there and go, I have 70,000 followers. What? Mm-hmm. And they're like, why are you so quiet? It's creepy. But, do it. This way you can do that extra social media that you didn't think you could get to, and you're not putting the effort in there, and you're probably not going to get very much return from there. You have to realize if you're doing this and you're just throwing something into new social media, you probably aren't going to get a huge return. But maybe you get one, maybe you get two, and maybe you get enough to go, maybe I really need to be there.
Right. And that's the thing is like, it's really good. This is a really good exercise for testing where your audience is and where they're going to respond. Mm-hmm. So if you start putting out automatic content to all these different channels, see where your growth is. Mm-hmm. Like when I post new things and I always use the small biz hashtag, mm-hmm. I get a lot of traction on stuff. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to post stuff to Instagram. And one of the things I absolutely love with this, because I'm terrible at it, when I post to Instagram, I always forget to put it on other channels. And you can like hit the button and make it happen. And I always forget.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones you can set up. And if you're a big Instagram user, that's one of the first things I would set up is when you post Instagram, post it to other channels.
Like I said, start with social media first. It will make the most sense to you because you probably use it a lot. So start with your social media first and start with the channels you use the most first. What am I wasting my time in this channel? At this point, like for me, I don't spend much time in Twitter unless I'm responding to people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I go in and I look at stuff, but I'm either looking at stuff and that's after hours or I'm responding to people. That's it.
But if you can create one of those hashtag lists to add people to a list, it's a way for you to find new people.
Yes. And start targeting more people. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I shouldn't be plotting online here.
I think we're going to have lists. Very good. So, I hope that this is a tool that you play with. If you have any questions about it, we'd love to have you join our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is facebook.com/group/smallbizlife.
And if there's like a more complicated subject that is kind of hard to cover, like the CRM managers, bring it to our group, try and do it. If I'm not paying attention because I'm at work, make sure to tag me. Because sometimes, like if I'm at work, I might miss several hours of great discussion. But if you tag me, I always check my mentions. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so definitely, reach out to us and we can help you with that.
When I see threads that have 30 posts in there, I typically I like it and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, because our group is awesome like that.
Our group is awesome, and it's like there's 7,000 messages because someone said that they're having a good day.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, hey, listen, if you like this episode and you want to hear more, make sure that you hit the subscribe button.
And if I'm going to figure out if there's a way I get people to auto-subscribe through this.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Text here and it will subscribe you to 7,000 things.
No, don't. Please don't. Yeah. I'm always unsubscribing. So, make sure, look at your phone right now, okay, and hit the subscribe button because then you know what that does? That automates the podcast coming to your phone every week. It's like
this, then that built into the app that you use to do the podcasting.
That's right.
Sometimes there's a star at the top. There's a download all button. Click it 5 times. Or it probably wouldn't work anyway, but.
Probably not. But, if you're a fan of the show, and we know there's so many of you that are sharing this with people and telling people about the show.
Thank you so much.
You're awesome. We have the best community ever. If you haven't done that yet though, right? If you haven't told anybody about the show.
Or even if you think of someone else, you're like, oh, I see Sally. Let me text 472 to myself and it will put her in a list so I remember next week to get with her to show her how to set up a podcast.
And you know what? I bet you that there is probably an IFTTT that if we post something on our website, you can automatically share it on your social media.
I bet you could. I bet you could use our RSS feed from our page.
Right.
Automatically share our stuff out too.
Right. So if you want to share the podcast, if you've got a lot of small business owners that follow you, that might be something that you might want to do.
And you know what? Let us know. We will brag you out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You will definitely get a mention on the show.
We will brown nose the heck out of you. Because, we love doing the show. We love the audience. And we love it when our numbers go up. And the more we ask people to help us out, the more help out we get. So we're going to keep asking. But you know what? Don't think for a second we don't love the heck out of you for it. And when you do it, you can brag to us about it. We want you to brag to us because we want to thank you because it's you guys that make the show grow. It's you guys that make the show great. And without you, I would be asleep right now and I wouldn't care. But with you, if I went to sleep right now, I would feel horrible because I'd rather do this than sleep.
Wow. That's impressive because you like to sleep.
I love to sleep.
So we're going to go pack now because we leave in the morning. So thank you so much for joining us again, and we will see you next time. Thank you for listening to Small Biz Life. If you enjoyed the show, please take a few minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Stitcher. Please visit smallbizlife.com to view today's show notes, take this week's poll, join the Facebook community, follow us on Twitter, or submit a question for the mailbag. Support the show by checking the resources page or by going to smallbizlife.com/Amazon whenever you shop.
This was Small Biz Life.